So just arriving on your cushion. Taking a few nice, full, satisfying breaths. Today will be all about two truths. Two truths, how something can have two truths. The one that functions, and the one that I'm just thinking like aloud, sort of the one that's filled with wisdom, that's based in love and not in ego. So feel the earth underneath you, feel the sky above, and then somewhere between the two, find what they call the wind horse, or the place where these two meet. The heavens above, the earth below. Will probably be around your solar plexus, kind of this, and you might even place a hand there, a place that feels like it doesn't really shift and move. Now, when you're ready, bring a teacher in front of you. You're going to prostrate 3 times to them. You're going to offer them something beautiful. Today, a big, beautiful blue sky would be very appropriate. Confess a little something you didn't get quite right in the last 24 hours or so. And see them give you a very understanding look, like, that's life. Welcome to being human. Do better. And then rejoice with them. Do the Snoopy dance with them. You're so happy they're in your life. You're so happy you have one another. I heard absolute bliss and glee in everyone's voice as they greeted each other this morning. You keep coming back. Why? Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice. You could be doing anything right now. And you're here for the Dharma. And then you'll just ask your teacher to please teach you 3 times and to please stay by your side forever. And this morning, you're going to turn them around the same direction as you and bring them to the top of your head, maybe about the size of your thumb. And they'll hang out there, just imbuing you with their wisdom and their bliss, their joy that you're here. And when you're ready, we'll rock and roll. My suggestion, I'm sorry, today is going to be a lot of words. But hopefully what that will lead to next week is an experience, and you'll have something to study in between. So Mahamudra is another way you could say Mahamudra is the Great Seal. The Great Seal, S-E-A-L. And the Great Seal refers to the union of wisdom with bliss. You will also hear this called voidness with bliss. And if you ever have a teacher who says that means somehow that things don't exist, that's when you run like hell, because that's nihilistic. And in Buddhism, as much as people call it a religion or a philosophy or whatever, and you all have your own experience of that, we use logic. And particularly in our lineage, which as you know, is Gelukpa, Gelukpa. It's the lineage of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In the Gelukpa tradition, we say that things exist in two ways. They exist in relative reality. I like to think of this word as helpful. This is not a definition that my teacher likes, by the way, but this is a definition that has helped me. And in the sense that relative reality is the way that you relate to the cylinders, the holes, and the colors and the shapes that make up your experience. I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's something like 0.0365% is all we actually see. So if you were a dog sitting here, you would be seeing different things, literally, than we see as humans. So this is science. This isn't woo. And in fact, for me personally, as I stepped onto the Dharmic path, I got less woo. And then I got more magical. And both can be true. The other kind of reality is ultimate reality. It's the way that things actually exist. But for most of our minds, that's not the karma we have. But once we understand ultimate reality, they say you can never go back. So I'm going to spotlight my video and then we'll go back to gallery view. But this is just for the recording. Yes, I really am going to at some point put up the recordings. I'm sorry. Please go back to gallery view. So how does the Great Seal fit in with how we live is how we die? It's critical. If we take into consideration a couple of things that we've been talking about now for almost 2 months. If we believe in past and future lives, which you don't have to be here, that doesn't disqualify you, but just suspend judgment and, be open. Then they say the thing that flops, and that is how it's described, into the next life, flops, is your mind stream, your consciousness, which is why they say your karma comes with you. And what they say actually causes death isn't choking on the sandwich, isn't having a heart attack, isn't getting hit on your motorcycle. It's your life karma running out. And they say that what propels you into the next lifetime is how you've treated people in the past. So a lot of times in these teachings, if you have 3 hours, I would be asking you some questions right now. We don't have 3 hours. I'm going to try to fast track us, get you the notes, give you some time to think about it. Next week, we'll do the experiential meditation. And then you have it, okay? But like this could be a year-long study, what I'm going to share with you today. So write down things fast and furious. So you can't do anything about the present moment. And usually you go through this whole exercise of why that's true. But they say in this tradition, the present moment experience that you're having is a reflection of your past deeds, how you've treated people in the past. So to be here, notice some people who aren't. Think of a friend that you love who isn't here today. This isn't to judge, this is to notice. So your ears, your heart were able to show up today. And in Buddhism, we say there is no chance, there is no chaos, there's no random happenings. The experience you have of your mandala is dictated by your karma. Another way you could say that is how you've treated people in the past. So the anchor point, the access point, the key to opening a different door, if you don't like what's arising in your sphere these days, I certainly don't. Hundreds of children murdered by the United States. Are you fucking kidding me? War in Ecuador? Sorry, recently in Ecuador. What a bunch of fucking hooey. I don't like what I'm seeing. That means I have to change. Radical responsibility, as you all know. So that's the heartbreak. But the good news Bible, I know I mix metaphors, it's okay. The good news Bible in all of this is it gives you access to something different. Okay? And remember that time's a construct. And this is important for those of you who are embarking on the tantric path, because it means all those little shitty things that you think you did, and in a relative world you did, you can clean up. You can go back from a different perspective, create a different outcome. Suspend that. Okay. This is an incredibly difficult teaching, by the way, to give. So we're going to do the best we can together. So I went to Arizona on Monday late afternoon to see my friend Timothy Lowenhaupt, who is the executive director of Asian Classics Institute, because I wanted to talk to him about bringing ACI students into community meditation to help bolster butts and seats. Doesn't bring us money directly, but we need butts and seats to build and grow this community. So I flew in. My boyfriend was nice enough to give me points to do that. And I arrived and I stayed with my friends. And then the plan was to drive Timothy around for about 10 hours. He needed a ride. I needed him. We figured we'll put our minds together inside of a car. So I was going to be the driver of driving Miss Daisy. But I decided, well, hell, I'm so close to Sedona and he lives in Rimrock, which is like, let's say a half hour away. So I decided to drive up to Sedona and see the stupa, the Amitabha stupa, and to have a little snack at the Chocolate Tree, which is a good hippy dippy place in Sedona that I absolutely love. And I order my food. I'm thinking, I need to probably text Tim. I'm going to be 10 minutes late. And I get this text from him and he says, everything has to change. Everything has to change. My cat is dying. My elderly cat is dying. I've had her for like 18 years. I'm not leaving her to die on her own. Will you come help me? And I'm like, whoa, I've got this. I've done this. All right. So I get to his home and Mama G passed away. So Mama G, we hung out with her for a handful of hours and then a really lovely vet came in. Mama G was probably suffering and euthanized Mama G. And then we had an hour-long Buddhist celebration of helping Mama G pass through the bardos. So there is a ceremony that you can do to help a kitty cat or a dog or a friend pass through the bardos. Anyone want to venture a guess what it looked like? Based on what we've been studying in this class?
Reading some of the verses to them?
So
like from yeah.
So the first we went through just a little emptiness celebration, remembering the emptiness of Mama G and of our experience of grief and death and a little Buddhist ceremony. And then we recited the dissolution process that you all know, that you all have in the back of this book. The process we've been studying is what we did, Tim being one of the higher practitioners in my life, with Mama G. And so we talked to Mama G and said, this is what's happening probably right now. This is what it's going to feel like. We visualized. I hope you're taking notes so you remember how to do this with the people who die in your life. We visualized with Mama G. So in my visualization, I was walking with a cat as the first element dissolved. So there's a mirage. And in my visualization, which I had come from my third eye and my heart space, together, projecting, I took Mama G, and so did my friends. There were one, two, three, four of us there in our mind's eye. And then as the water element dissolved, the smoke appears. So it was Mama G and I walking through the smoke together. And as that turns to air, then it was the fireflies. I actually imagined Mama G as a small kitten swatting at the fireflies until we reached the point of the black, excuse me, the black, the red, and the white. And the white is the clear light experience. And we could feel in the room when Mama G exited. And the three ravens circumambulated the house and disappeared. And then we buried Mama G, and the big turkey vulture riding the winds went up higher and higher and higher until we could no longer see that turkey vulture. So in this instance, to me, the teachings were so magically reflected in the experience of going to talk to Tim about partnering with Mind Oasis, and then ushering his cat with him and two other high practitioners into the next realm. The relative side, everyone was crying, including me. The relative side, I had to go get lunch. I went and got Kleenexes. I went to the post office. I ran errands. I was his Nay Lama, N-E Lama, Nay Lama. And Nay Lama is the nurse. If the Lama gives you the medicine, the nurse is who gives you the comfort. Tim knows absolutely what to do when a being passes away, how to help usher them through the bardo, to help remind them. But he needed the comfort, the relative comfort. So he knows the ultimate thing to do, which, by the way, I'm going to say it one more time, just in case you're not hearing me. You have. Study it so that you can be there for Mama G, your Mama G, which might be your husband, might be your wife, might be your daughter. I hope not. Might be, your partner. That's the ultimate side. And then the relative side is the comfort that people need as they contemplate missing their loved ones. So how does Maha Mudra fit into all of this? Well, if your future, the next breath you take, is determined by your past and how you treated people in the past, we need tools not to be an asshole. That's a direct quote from the Buddha. We need tools. Unless you're not like me, and I hope you're not, but I need tools. Because my little ego gets crushed, just driving, much less the world stage we have right now, which is insane. Okay? And Mahamudra gives us 6 flavors by which to study emptiness. There are secret Mahamudra teachings. By the way, Mahamudra is Mahamudra. One word, Mahamudra. There are secret teachings, open teachings, and Gelugpa teachings. My teacher says the Gelugpa teachings are correct. If you go out and Google it or chat GPT, you're probably going to get a bunch of crap. Take the lineage that you have here, the access to this lineage. It's good. It's real. It's valid. Then you take it out and you test it out. Don't take it as valid and real because I said so. You go test it out. The Gelugpa tradition of Mahamudra, for those of you in Dalam, this will be interesting, is actually presented by His Holiness, the first Panchen Lama. Lobsang Chuki Gyaltsen, Lobsang, Lobsang, Chuki, Chukyi, Chuki, Gyaltsen, Gyeltsen. But in our tradition, we tend to just call him HHFPL. His Holiness, the first Panchen Lama. And you can get to Mahamudra, which is also known as the direct perception of emptiness, or DPE. You can get there two ways, they say, through logic or through Tantra. Logic's going to take you forever. Tantra will probably kill you in the process. You get to decide. Welcome to Buddhism. The view by which we're going to look at Mahamudra, the first two perspectives, is from the Abhidharma school, Abhidharma, Abhidharma. Spellings between English and Tibetan and Sanskrit sometimes throw in different vowels and H's and things like that. I will put the spellings into our container so that you have them. I can't type and do it at the same time. It's not a good use of our time. We have such limited time. And then the mind only school, and then what's called the middle way school. And the middle way school is really what you're learning from almost all the time in this class. Okay. And yeah, there's a lot more that could be said about that. We don't have time. So when we look at emptiness teachings, especially Mahamudra, we have to look at, or we have to consider what an object would be empty of. Well, first of all, let me give you the punchline. I need you to think of someone you're angry with, or having at least minimally troubles with. It would be good if it's someone in your life. So like, don't pick the orange orangutan. Like, try to pick someone in your life. Everyone have one? I need some nods of heads. Or are you getting there? Okay. Okay. I really need you to think of someone who did you dirty. Okay. So it doesn't have to be necessarily someone that you're working with right now. It could be someone that you've been working with that did you dirty. So like if you have a good ex to just, but I need you to have some emotion around it because we're going to use that object through the 6 flavors. All right. So in order to contemplate Mahamudra, you need to contemplate the emptiness of the object. And the person that you are angry with is the object. Okay? And you might want to write down who they are. And you might even want to write down a couple of things why you're angry. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use this relative experience, valid, real. I am angry with this person because that, valid, real, but relative. We're going to use that by canceling out, this will make more sense, by using wisdom. We're going to apply wisdom to the situation in order to drop the misperceptions of the situation. The 6 Mahamudras build upon one another. So each flavor until we get to the ultimate, or what in our lineage we say is the true way of looking at any situation. This is why it's useful. This is how it's going to help you respond appropriately and not continue to grow crappy karma, which affects you at death. I'm hoping I'm tying the knots up enough to understand, okay? The each of these six flavors grows on one another. Each was taught by the Buddha. It's basically a setup. He breaks you in slowly. He says, okay, here's one way that we can look at the emptiness of the object. In this situation, it's the emptiness of whomever you're pissed at or struggling with. Doesn't necessarily have to be anger, but like, that you're having a problem with. And it says, okay, we're going to apply this first level of logic, which comes again from that Abhidharma school, and specifically what's called the Vaibhasika school, which is Vaibhasika. If you don't get it, it's okay. Again, I'm going to put it in the container and then you all can figure out how to get in there with the right spellings. So we're going to start with the Vaibhasika school, and then we're going to go to the Sautantrika school, which is SAU Tantrika, Tantrika. Both fall under the Abhidharma school. The Abhidharma school is very, very old. It's like 2nd century stuff. It's Indian. Okay. So flavor number 1, sometimes they talk about wearing hats. Hat number 1. You're wearing the Vaibhasika hat. Okay. If I were a better prepared, more classical teacher, I would have a hat on right now. Usually that's how it's taught. And then you change out your hat for different ways of viewing it. You're going to take the same object for all 6. Your person that you can't stand, person who irks your ass. And as you put on different hats, you're going to look at the situation differently. The first one is from the Vaibhasikas, okay? And this flavor says that the dak, D-A-K, the self-existent thing, which equates to your person, is completely unchanging and permanent. They are unchanging and permanent. They're always the same. So the first part of this analytical meditation, because this isn't meant to be studied like scholarly, you're to sit in meditation with your hat on, with that person in front of you, with your teacher on your head, giving you the union of wisdom, understanding of emptiness, and bliss. And it says, contemplate, analyze, could this person, do you have them in your mind's eye? I just need to make sure. Everybody with me? Okay. Could this person always be the same? Could this person never change? And so what you're trying to do in Mahamudra is to purposely trigger ignorance. You're going to be confused at 10 o'clock this morning going, God, I wish I understood what was happening. Write that down. That's the key point. You're going to, on purpose, trigger a moment of ignorance. And an ignorant moment would look like this person never changes. They don't change physically. They don't change emotionally. They don't change dependent on who's looking at them. They never change. Never, ever change. I think we can probably all agree that that's ignorant, yeah? Yeah? I got to make sure you're with me here. Okay. So notice the ignorance. Think about the last time you actually got into it with this person. By the way, even Geshe-la says all of this drops the moment you get into it with someone. Like, and he's a high practitioner, people. Like, it all drops. But you can use this and you need to use it. Why? Because you're going to die. We don't want you to come back an earthworm. If this life, how you treat others, determines your next life, we're going to use these flavors to not increase bad karma. That's the punchline. So we look at this person and we go, that's a very ignorant way of looking at them. That's helpful. Can everyone see how that's helpful? Checking. Okay. All right. So then we move on to the Sautantrikas. The Sautantrikas look at emptiness, the emptiness of an object, the fact that your person isn't self-existent or doesn't exist self-existently. Please, let's use precise language. I'm sorry. Okay. And they say, here's how we're going to get to it. So this is number 2. You use the belief that things are under your control. Good fucking luck. That there is Michael Hewitt, or excuse me, Geshe-la says, it's like you can imagine like you've got a crane operator within you. And you tell the crane operator how to take control of your experience. So bring this person again in front of you that you're having your challenges with. And try to control that situation in this present moment. So this is a good time to be like, oh, okay, all right, okay. So the first group says that person could be never changing. And you're like, well, I know that's not true. So I'm going to approach this person from a different way so that we can be at peace. So I can die well. This is what you say to yourself, like, right? You take this analytical meditation and they're building on one another. So hear me. And you say, well, you know what? I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. In fact, I'm going to invite them for coffee or tea. And I'm going to apologize to them. This is a way to control your situation. And I'm going to not expect them to apologize back. I'm going to be able to sit with that. So you go in with, and they agree to meet you. And so you go in with all of these really noble expectations. And you apologize. And they just get downright nasty. That's how you use the ignorance. I'm not saying go out and do this. I'm saying picture the situation. This is how you use ignorance to drop the idea that you can control someone else. Do you see how this might be helpful in the days that we are facing right now? Okay. So you can't say that you can control your body or their body. You can't say that you can control their mind. Have you ever tried to control your mind? Don't think of a pink elephant. Good luck. Right? So we have to cancel the wrong idea. We think we can control a situation. That's the wrong idea. So it's important that we're calm. Here's like toolbox stuff. It's important that we're calm. It's important that we're kind. But whose karma does that affect? You can't control the other object. That's the ignorance, is that you think you can. The wisdom would say how they react. This is very important. How they react will be determined by your past karma. not what you say in that moment. Because you can only affect the next moments. When something shitty happens, as difficult as this might be, and I struggle desperately with this teaching, the Tibetan Buddhists say it is a bad karma arising, and for that, it should be celebrated. Because if you manage to, like, let's say it's the bad karma is this person yelling at you after you tried to buy them a nice cup of tea and you tried to apologize and they still yell at you. That is a bad karma arising. And in that moment, you have a choice. You cannot control them. You can't control that moment. You can't control what just happened, but you can control the next karmic seed that you plant. And so this is where Lama Marut would say you can choose to zip asana. You can choose not to plant more karmic shitty seeds. So if we say that we're learning about how we live is how we die, and we want to die well, and then you know by examining the ignorant way that we do things almost all the time, you can use that ignorance, okay? Which brings us to the third flavor of emptiness, the third way of looking at the Great Seal. The mind-only school says, again, this is an ancient Indian school, not quite as ancient as the Abhidharmas. The mind-only school says, you guys don't quite understand what the Buddha really meant. And they say that the subject and the object have to come from the same karma. The subject and the object have to come from the same karmic seed. Now, this is kind of, to me, pointing to interdependence. So it says, you have brought this angry person into your room. And the only way that this angry person can be in your room is with you. So there is a part, they say there is a part of your consciousness, both created by you. They are a part of your consciousness created by you, and you are a part of your consciousness created by you. And so this angry person is being produced by your own mind, and then your own mind is debating with the person. So you can see why this is called the mind-only school. I don't think they completely reject that anything happens outside of the mind, but don't quote me on that. I haven't studied them for a while, but it's damn close, okay? Which is a little too nihilistic for my liking, but we need this wisdom to get to the next one, all right? So with this hat on, looking at the same object, they say there are no accidents. There are no coincidences. This is important for logic. Both you and them is created by your own mind. And so you're going to picture your anger at that person and how you feel most of the time that they created the problem, right? You're not the problem, they're the problem. And even if you're like kind of a nice person, you're like, okay, I'll take 10% of responsibility. You know, you still think 90% is their fucked up shit, not yours, right? So do you see how we're moving from relative to ultimate, relative to ultimate, relative to ultimate? This is the experience I'm having. It's real, it's valid. But is that really what's going on? That's the question we're asking ourselves. But now use the ignorance to find the wisdom. You know that the object and the subject are separate entities. And well, let me say it a different way. You know that planting bad karmic seeds isn't going to get you where you want to go. Can we all agree on that? Like good, good creates good, bad creates bad. There's some mixed stuff in there, but let's concentrate on good and bad, which is dualistic, but it's helpful. Ergo, if you brought them into the room right now with this mind, could you blame them with wisdom mind? No, because you understand karma and you understand emptiness. So in the moment, in the heat of the moment, Joan just got it. It's a tokpa. A tokpa, Tokpa. A tokpa is a brilliant flash of insight. It's when you like are, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. It's like in math, when you get to like the bottom and you've worked it all out and you're like, oh, there's the answer. I always felt like, holy shit, I can't believe I did it. Right? So, but it is that feeling, okay? So it's like, so if the mind only school says you and this person are created from one seed arising, you are the person and you are you, and you want to blame them, that's all ignorance. But if you use wisdom, but through the ignorance, you find the wisdom. And wisdom says, well, wait a minute. I can't blame them because then what's going to happen? I'm just going to see more of them. So you drop. This creates wisdom, which allows us to go to number 4. And this is still mind only school. And flavor number 4, the 4th hat, looking at the same object, says, words don't apply to their objects self-existently. Words don't apply to their objects self-existently. So we'll start with something easier than your angry person. The words favorite song. Favorite song. If there are words that can be applied to one song, then they could be applied to all songs. If the words can be applied to one song, they can be applied to any song. But I can guarantee you that the 9 of us have a different idea of our favorite song. Okay? Ignorance, we use ignorance to get to wisdom. That's what we're doing here. I don't know if my teacher never said that, but Mahamudra for me was like this elusive thing for seriously 12 years, maybe more. It's actually really simple. You're going to look at the same object, wear a different hat. We have 6 different hats. And that hat has 2 flavors, ignorant flavor, wisdom flavor. So maybe you could pretend you have it on forwards. That's your wisdom. Backwards is your ignorance. So if my favorite song is a Neil Young song, and let's pretend no one else here likes Neil Young. Okay. When I say this is my favorite song, then I believe you all should think it's your favorite song too. By the way, this is going to be really helpful in the Middle East and your perception of what's going on. So I take notes because you're not going to remember, because emptiness teachings don't stick. I'm surprised half of you aren't asleep. So what used to happen to Lama Marut, he'd go to an emptiness teaching with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, talk about the voice of God himself, right? He'd fall asleep in 5 minutes. Because there is a part of your psyche that does not want to hear what I'm saying to you. So also, if this is triggering and or confusing, congratulations. You're right where you need to be. So let's go back to anger. Put your hat on. Look at the object. Try to create strong ignorance about the object. This is when you're saying things like, I can't believe those people believe. So you're angry person. I can't believe they don't do this. I can't believe they do this. I can't believe. If the words I can't believe are swimming around, you're right here. It's an extremely good place to be because you can use this opportunity. So emptiness says, going back to the favorite song, emptiness says, I can believe Neil Young, this particular song, is the best song. And golden cannot. And both can be true. I can believe ice agents are the scourge of the earth. And my MAGA neighbor can believe they're cleaning up the streets. And both can be true. And now all the little liberals, probably including me, start to sweat because all of a sudden there isn't so much to hang on to. But we want to. And I'm not prepared to go into Iran quite yet. But when you are, you could contemplate this. And it might help because if there's one thing that's tough to deal with, it's ignorance. But we're going to use ignorance. So going way back to like day one, a year ago, around Tantra, we transform everything. We transform the picture of the hundreds of girls that the United States decided to take out via Israel. And you can transform it. That's triple X. So you're going to work on the person that you're angry with. What this is going to allow is to not judge. Woo! I suggest not going triple X. I suggest strongly going PG, or your mind will explode. It allows for differences of opinion because they are not conceptualizing things like you. That object, that angry person, somebody probably made love to him or her last night and felt completely different about them. Their perception is valid, and so is yours. Okay, so then we move on to flavor number 5. Now we're in the lower way, or excuse me, the middle way school. This is the Madhyamika school, which is spelled Madhyamika. Again, I'm going to put these in the thing. I don't want to spend time spelling it for you guys just because we have one more to get through. The middle way school is the school that you find the Gelugpa tradition. Remember, these are building on one another. This is the lower middle way school. Middle way is Madhyamika. This is the lower middle way school called Sva Tantrika. It's not Sao Tantrika, it's Sva. So it's SVA Tantrika. In the lower middle way school, well, first of all, the middle way people were all a bunch of snobs. So we just say straight up, you guys are wrong. And the lower middle way says this is why you're wrong. They say, so number 5 flavor, put your number 5 hat on. They say, other schools are wrong. They think that things only come from their own side. So this is when we do the pen exercise. This is where we're at. I say the pen, I write with it. Golden says the pen, it makes a really nice hair bobble. And the dog says it's a great chew toy. And those are all valid experiences in relative reality. Ultimate reality says about the pen, it is not one or the other self-existently from its own side. It says how you experience pen is dependent on your karma. Karma is a fancy way of saying how you've treated people in the past. The pen doesn't matter, but the angry person does. So now you're going to insert the angry person as the pen. So here we go. The lower middle way school, flavor number 5, hat number 5 says 50% comes from their side and 50% comes from your side. And without an altered state of mind, i.e., no booze, no drugs, no psychosis, the kind of mind we're probably having right now. It says for the angry person, the object to exist, there has to be another mind to witness it existing. So this is the example being, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, has it really even fallen? And in this school, they would say no. So in the lower part of the Madhyamika school, you put on the hat and you say, oh, angry person arising, they don't even exist without me being willing to play. So I can't take questions, Golden, you gotta wait. I have to keep going. So when you put on this uniform, you're gonna imagine the person with whom you're having a problem. And you're gonna use ignorance. So you're gonna use the opposite of what I just said. You're gonna pretend like it has nothing to do with you. And from this template, how on earth could you possibly do that? How could you do that? From this perspective. So then you're going to imagine that this problem is only coming from their side, and you're going to imagine someone coming in. So imagine a friend comes in. Are they going to see that person in the exact same way as you? Even if they're on your team. Have you ever had complete consensus? There's always a little but. Okay, so this template says there's no such thing as a problem from its own side until you make it a problem. We're almost to the Good News Bible. I might go over by 2 minutes. I'm just letting everyone know. I'm sorry. I'm going to try really hard not to. So this is the quote from Lama Zopa, Z-O-P-A, a beautiful Lama. Lama Zopa says, or has a book called Transforming Problems into Opportunities. In this lens, nothing's a problem until you agree to make it a problem. Now, don't go to triple X. It doesn't help anyone. Start with your person. Is there an opportunity? Is there an opportunity? It appears like it's coming from its own side. In relative reality, it functions like it's coming from its own side. But there is no such thing as a problem from its own side until you're willing to sign up and label it a construct of problem. I'll go back to say that Geshe-la says in the moment, this is almost impossible. Using Mahamudra is almost impossible. Also, do you see why this is a case for meditation, to being able to slow your mind down just long enough to take one breath and to grab a straw of wisdom from these 6 flavors, okay? So you could make your problems into opportunities, and that is really hard to hear, especially if you really want to be right. And God, I love being right. But as soon as you lose that desire, just deep desire to be right, there's something else there. That's the invitation, I think. This is Kelly Marie, practically speaking. So Geshe-la's example, yeah, I'm going over by 5 minutes. Sorry, everyone. Geshe-la uses the example of, he was in the diamond industry forever. And like they would make huge mistakes, like hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes. They'd get the wrong diamonds. And so then they'd sit down and come up with an idea of how to use the diamonds in maybe a different kind of piece of jewelry or blah, blah, blah. And then lo and behold, the new idea would make more money than the old idea. And his boss would think he's a genius. So you can use this in a positive way. Like something really bad happened. A lot of people would be like, oh my God, I'm going to get shit canned. And instead, then something good comes out of it. Something even better comes out of it. And we know this from our own life. Just think of, whatever your shitty thing is that happened to you that ended up then somehow propelling something amazing to happen. Okay. So the sixth flavor is what they call the Madhyamika Prasangika. So it's the same word, Madhyamika, and then the second word is Prasangika, Prasangika. They really say that this is the highest wisdom. There's a gentleman, Nagarjuna, very important in Tibetan Buddhism, Nagarjuna, Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna, logic and wisdom is what we study in Tibetan Buddhism. And so the Madhyamika Prasangika hat is what's adopted by Je Tsongkhapa. It's what's adopted by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all the Dalai Lamas before His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So the former 5 flavors have been the buildup to get to number 6. So the way that we're going to get there is to imagine a self-existent person. So get your angry person, and that they are completely bad from their own side. It's not your karma making you see them as bad. And this is when you go, oh, well, this kind of sounds like the rest of them. And that's true, because these other 5 flavors are giving you little bits and pieces to get you to the highest wisdom. And so you're going to focus on this person and imagine that you're not seeing them with your karma. So you're going to flip it. You're going to use the ignorance to move to wisdom. So first you're seeing them, oh, they're just bad from their own side. They're such a jerk. I can't stand them. And now you're going to flip it. So see them with wisdom like you see the pen, as parts and wholes, as colors, as sounds. And then put their lover next to you and have them look at the parts and the wholes that comprise this person, or their kid, if that's easier, just someone that would love them. And you're both looking at the same object. And the wisdom says, well, then that object can't be projecting on their own side angry, because the other person is looking at them with love. And what this forces you to see is that it is my unique karma that makes me see them as this negative person. It is my unique karma. Doesn't have anything to do with the 50-50%. It has to do with my unique karma forces me to project this label, this experience onto the cylinders, parts, colors, sounds that make up this object. And someone else's unique karma forces something different. If you've ever raised teenagers and had the experience of like one parent or the other being the bad cop or the good cop, and then one kid likes the person and one kid hates the person, and we all just say, well, it's teenage hormones. But how is it then, like apply that situation to your angry person? And so what we're using is ignorance as the doorway to the wisdom side. And so as you're looking at your angry person, this is the wrap up, and you say, oh shit, it's my karma. This forces you, this is the tokpa, it forces you to say, well, hell, I can't do anything about the experience I'm having with them in this moment. but I do have control over how I experience them in the future. So if you don't want to see mean, awful orange people in your future, you have to treat people with kindness. You have to help them so that in the future, the karma that you see for the objects in front of you is the kind of experience that you actually want to have. So if you want to die well, they say, you have to change, or you want to weed out more of the bad seeds and plant more of the good. So in short, how we live is how we die. All right, so we're going to dedicate, and I'm sorry that we went over, but now that you have like the notes, then we'll go back and we'll do it as a meditation, and we'll talk about our own experiences in our life for next week, and it'll be more interactive. All right, so let's just take one moment to dedicate the merit of our practice. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. Pop your teacher down into your heart space. Bring that angry person right in front of you and wish for them to be happy and free as well. And then dedicate the merit of that wisdom. May all sentient beings experience a flash of wisdom and insight today. Om Ahum. Thanks for being here.